Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 36 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and tell them CDP, aka Chris Palme, sent you there as well. And you guys can also email them at info@barrycullen.com. And also, guys, you can now pre-order the all-electric Silverado pickup truck or the all-electric Cadillac Lyriq. And if you wish to test drive a Lyriq, please either call them or email them at Barry Cullen Chevrolet as well. They'll look after you. And I'm still loving my 2023 Chevy Trailblazer RS model I bought from Barry Cullen as well. Before we get to our show tonight, guys, as always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Metro Atlanta. And I want to say thank you to Ryan O'Neill for giving me an opportunity to have my show on a U.S. radio station 4 nights a week as well, guys. All right. I'm looking forward to my guest tonight, guys. I'm going to bring her on in 1 second. Her name is Abby Alonzo. She's an on-air host and NFL analyst for Chat Sports, covering the NFL's Tennessee Titans and New Orleans Saints. And she also provides NFL, NBA, NHL content for Amazon Alexa on a weekly basis as well. So just bear with me, and I'm going to bring on my guest for episode 36 tonight, Abby Alonzo.
What's up?
Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Can't complain. Free agency is tough, but it is absolutely worth it. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and so far we've kind of been bitten by the off-season free agency so far.
Yeah, Howie Roseman manages to work some crazy deals, though. So I have faith in him to lead you guys back to the Super Bowl 2023.
It's hard to win the Super Bowl, let alone get back to it. So my fingers crossed that Jalen Hurts can still continue to develop next year. And also they also lost Miles Sanders, which is to me a huge loss.
I know.
What's your thoughts on Rashad Penny they signed from Seattle?
I think he had a very good season. You saw him do some good things in Seattle. I'm interested to see how he does with the Eagles. Miles Sanders did an incredible job. I still don't completely understand that one, but money, cap space, the NFL is a crazy industry. It's all about money and entertainment. And I don't think it's a bad move. I think he's got a lot of talent, and that offense, as we saw this past year, if Jalen Hurts can continue the way he's been, stay healthy, I think you're going to see some really good things from Philadelphia this season.
One thing I was surprised is Sanders signed with Carolina, and Carolina also got Adam Thielen from the Vikings, who I thought would have been a good fit in Buffalo along Stephon Diggs, his former Minnesota teammate. But I think Buffalo's in salary cap issues right now.
Yeah. Look, Adam Thielen, Carolina is being very sneaky. We saw them move up to that one spot in the draft, which good for them. Seriously, the NFC South. I'm a Saints fan, born and raised New Orleans. That wasn't a move we like to see, but for Carolina, it's a great move. And to bring in Adam Thielen, they are powering up that offense to again be contenders next season. Yes, maybe the Bills, but again, cap space is crazy. I really never understood it until I got thrown into covering free agency, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how they manage to get all the numbers right every year.
Absolutely. Now, being a Saints fan in New Orleans, what's your thoughts on Derek Carr being the new Saints quarterback?
So at first I was a little bit skeptical. I'm not going to say I'm completely sold yet. I am a little bit more convinced that he could be the right guy for the job, or at least he could be a very good bridge quarterback to the next franchise quarterback, whoever it may be. I'd love to see Hendon Hooker end up in New Orleans, but maybe they wait till 2024 to maybe really look at that draft class, Caleb Williams. But I think Derek Carr has the leadership aspect. You heard Demario Davis, Drew Brees back him up. He's got a very good, or he's very respected throughout the league. And if I have guys that I look up to as a fan, not even as somebody who works in the industry, but as a fan, I love Drew Brees. I look up to him for the leader that he is on and off the field. And if he turns around to the fan base and says, this is someone you can trust, you should be very happy to have him, I'll go with that. And until he proves otherwise, then I'll ride it out. I think there are a lot of similarities between Derek Carr and Drew Brees. Carr is coming to New Orleans kind of trying to have to prove that he still is that guy. And I look forward to seeing that hopefully next season. And they're doing a good job of giving him some help. I know maybe a receiver might need a little bit more receiver help to go with Chris Olave, but Michael Thomas is staying around. If you can get one more guy, I think they'll be in a good place. And then I love the Jamal Williams signing. I love him. I think he's awesome. So good spot for New Orleans. I'm excited to see what Derek Carr can do.
Thoughts quickly on the Saints coaching staff, and thoughts on Sean Payton ending up in Denver.
Man, it's sad. It's sad to see the coach. Look, he came in when I was 5, 6 years old. So that is the coach that I knew and loved. And he brought so much success to New Orleans. He's so respected. He knows what he's doing. And you understand, to retire and then to have him turn around and go back to coaching was a little bit heartbreaking. But he, again, goes up there, makes some crazy decisions. Looks like he's turning around an entire franchise. So you can't help but to root for him. You wish he was your coach. And look, I'm not completely a Dennis Allen fan yet. Pete Carmichael, I'm not completely on the same page with him either. But again, you can't base everything off of one season. This was Dennis Allen's first season as a head coach in New Orleans, working with Pete Carmichael. I will let it ride out until 2023, and then I will make a decision on whether I am here for this coaching staff or not. I'm not impressed yet. I need to be impressed. I think they're doing good work during the offseason, though. I will give them that.
And the other team you cover, the Titans, they had the same record as well, 7-10, and they got off to a good start, and then they just the last month and a half, 2 months, they collapsed, and the Jaguars snuck in there and won the division.
Yeah, that first off, I do want to say the Titans have horrible injury luck. They are the most fielded team in the NFL. They have player after player, they cycle them on and off the field all the time, which is something that throughout the offseason, that is a big red flag for this team. They're trying to sign guys and bring in guys that aren't going to be injured or aren't injury ridden. And they're in the hunt for a good veteran receiver right now. We're watching all of these receivers sign with other teams. And a lot of the fans who I communicate with from the coverage that I do are upset by that. You're watching all of these veteran receivers get signed to other teams when you're saying that you need a vet in the receiver room. However, I will say a lot of those veteran receivers that we're seeing in free agency, OBJ, McCole Hardman, who just went to the Jets today, Paris Campbell, who went to, I believe, the Giants last week, injury ridden. So Rand Carthen came in. He made some sneaky good signings this past week in the first week of NFL free agency. He brought some guys he's very comfortable with, who he was with in San Francisco. I think he's bringing them in, and I trust him. I don't know what it is that makes me feel like he can come in and turn this franchise around. If they can avoid being so injured and piece everything together around, they're saying Ryan Tannehill is QB1 for this season. He does have one more year on his contract. If they can piece Ryan Tannehill together or give him pieces to surround him with a good O-line, give him weapons in the receiver room, whether you draft somebody or there are rumors about DeAndre Hopkins landing in Tennessee. piece those pieces together and let him just be a game manager and go with that. Derrick Henry, there's trade rumors about him as well. I don't know that those come to fruition. At least I know Tennessee hopes not. He is the foundation of that offense right now. But I will say, I think they are on the premise of a complete 180. And I think Rand Carthen has a lot to do with that, hopefully.
As an Eagles fan, I want to say thank you to the Titans organization for trading AJ Brown.
Oh,
AJ
no.
Brown in 1 year had like almost 1,500 yards of receiving, which
Yeah.
broke Mike Quick's record. 11 touchdowns, I think. Impact player, probably the best wide receiver the Eagles have had since Terrell Owens, and that move really hurt the Titans, I think,
It
offensively losing
did.
AJ Brown.
It did, because they draft Traylon Burks, who superstar. However, he's injury ridden his entire rookie season. The turf toe, the concussion, he wasn't able to flash. If you're a Titans fan, you're hoping that in his second year he can take that leap and really flash. But when they drafted him, they thought, okay, this is AJ Brown 2.0, and then realized, okay, it's not. And people are really upset about that in Nashville. Titans fans are honestly a little PO'd at the fact that they let AJ Brown go to the Eagles, and you watch him have the season that he had, and you can't help but think, oh my gosh, would that have happened? Would our season have gone so much better? Would we have won the AFC South if AJ Brown was still a Titan? So people are salty about that, but I'm glad you guys got some good use out of AJ Brown.
He really helped the development of
Oh,
Devontae
yeah.
Smith, who's now like 1B. And he's also, I'm convinced of it, he helped the development, rush it a little more of Jalen Hurts as well, in his third year in the league and second as starter. And having AJ Brown is great, because if you double team him, Devontae Smith is wide open, and that's how you win. And the Eagles for years have struggled without receivers, and now they have two of the elite receivers in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that is the way the NFL works. It cycles in and out. Players who just didn't have success on a team before get matched up with the perfect fitting offense, and then all glory happens, and you end up in the Super Bowl having a record year. That is the way of the industry, and that is why we love the game so much, because when those pieces come together, it's beautiful. And you saw that in Philadelphia this year.
Definitely. Now, one thing I want to ask you is covering the Titans as well. Do you think the Titans, if they can stay healthy next year, can compete for that AFC South with the Jaguars? I'm assuming Jacksonville is not going to regress in the offseason.
So I do believe that they can compete. Now, the AFC South is going to take a step up, I believe, because the Texans just made all kinds of moves, signings, trades. They're going to bump up. Of course, you've got the Colts looking for a quarterback. So if all of these teams make the offseason moves that I believe they're going to make, whether it be in free agency or in the draft, I think you're going to see the level of play in the AFC South go up, because it's been so terrible for the past couple years. You're bound to start getting some key pieces kind of put together, and you're going to see that level of competition go up. The Jags have started to figure it out. We saw that at the end of last season. Trevor Lawrence is kind of finding a rhythm, a little bit more of chemistry with his guys. I think the Titans are going to have to fight, because, again, Ryan Tannehill has one more year on that contract. I still don't believe that he is the guy to be able to compete and bring this team to major postseason success. But I do think if he's got one more year with the team, there might be a little bit of gas left in the tank for him to do some good things with this team. I think they absolutely will compete this year if they stay healthy and Rand Carthen works some magic during the offseason.
Was there any interest on the Titans' part in Jimmy G, who eventually signed with the Raiders last week?
There were rumors. You hear everything during the offseason. I mean, we were talking about Tom Brady coming to the Titans at one point, and Aaron Rodgers. So yes, there were talks about Jimmy G landing in Tennessee, but it was more so Trey Lance, because when we were talking about Tom Brady still playing this year, and we were talking about, oh, the storybook ending, he'll end in the Bay, his career will end in San Francisco, it'll be the perfect ending for the Bay kid. He'll go to the 49ers. They'll have too many quarterbacks between Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, and Trey Lance. And Trey Lance will follow Rand Carthen to Tennessee. Well, Tom Brady retired, Brock Purdy got injured, and then Kyle Shanahan said, Jimmy G is no longer, he's not going to be a 49er next year. So that ex-nayed the Trey Lance rumors off the bat. And kind of process of elimination, it wasn't going to work for Jimmy G to be in Tennessee. I also feel like that move would have been a little bit lateral. We had the same argument for Derek Carr coming to Tennessee. You've got Ryan Tannehill. If you're going to look, Ryan Tannehill isn't bad. He's very mid, I would say, at this point. If you're going to go out and get a new quarterback, you probably want to get a quarterback that is going to stick around for a little bit longer than a year or so. And moving on from Ryan Tannehill to Jimmy G or Derek Carr would have been a very lateral move. So there was talk about it. I don't think it would have ever actually became reality.
Okay, and then just quick thoughts on the Titans coaching staff and Mike Vrabel. I think who's a terrific coach. And since you're in Dallas, maybe just a little bit of quick thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys as well in the offseason. They've released Ezekiel Elliott, and then the good tight end, Dalton Schultz went with Houston, which surprised me. I thought Dallas would try to keep him.
Yeah, so Titans coaching staff, I think Tim Kelly, offensive coordinator, had some success with the Texans a couple years ago. I love Mike Vrabel. I think he is a very realistic, encouraging, but realistic coach, and he pushes his guys, and he's very verbal about what he likes and what he doesn't like. In his end of season presser, he straight up called out guys for being too injured for soft tissue injuries. We know that he's not a fan of it. He called him out for it. He's very verbal with what he thinks. And I think that's important as a coach of an NFL team. You have to be very straight up with these guys and with the industry in general. I respect him. I think he is a good coach. And I think eventually time will tell, especially him being paired up with Rand Carthen. From what I know, they get along very well. And they work well together. So it'll be interesting to see how they pair up this next season. As far as the Cowboys go, I think it was a matter of time. Zeke got cut. One of our hosts at Chat Sports, he hosts the Cowboys Report, Tom Downey. He has been calling Ezekiel Elliott to get cut since the season. He thinks Zeke is cooked. I get it. You're not producing like you once were, and that's the way of the world as a running back. If you're not going to continue to produce and you're getting older in age, it's time to see it go. And as much as the Cowboys love Zeke and he's a great guy, it's a business. So moving on from Zeke, I think it wasn't too surprising for people that actually keep up with the logistics of the game. I think it wasn't a shocker. Dalton Schultz, very good tight end. And Tom Downey made the same joke on the Texans want to be the Cowboys so bad as they grab Dalton Schultz and they start making these moves. I think the Cowboys are playing a little bit of a risky game, but that is the business. You have to make bold moves to be able to come out on top, high risk, high reward kind of thing. I don't think that this is like a detriment to the organization or the franchise, but they are going to have to adjust without Schultz and Zeke.
Do you think the Cowboys are still a contender next year?
The Cowboys, I don't want to say they're always a contender because they tend to choke in the most crazy ways, honestly. I think they'll be similar to how they were this year. If Dak can figure out the turnover problem, then I think you have an argument to say that they'll be contenders. But we saw that caused a huge issue for the Cowboys and the chemistry on the offense. They would get off to a start and then just wipe it all away again. I don't see any major changes, to be completely honest with you, from last season to this next season, other than those cuts or the trade and the cut they just made. But other than that, I think they're pretty much around the same area that they were last season.
For the NFC East, I still think it's going to be between Philly and Dallas. I don't think the Giants are ready yet. I think they improved last year under Dable. And Washington, I'm still not sure about. So what's your thoughts quickly on the NFC East?
Let's see. The Giants are onto something, I will say. I think Brian Dable did something to that culture He's got his guys fired up, finding a way to win, which is very important. You don't have to be the most talented roster in the league, and we've seen that time and time again to win games. You don't. I don't know that they come out on top this season. I think they may put up a good fight. The Commanders just signed Jacoby Brissett, was it? I believe it was. Covered them for Amazon this past season, and they were up and down all over the place. I mean, you've got all kinds of drama in that organization, but I think they still have a little bit of a way to go. I will say I like Jacoby Brissett. I like what he did in Cleveland when Deshaun Watson was out for the first half of the season. I think the issues with the Browns were not his fault. I think it was just the team in general and figuring out how to work with each other. But I think compared to Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett will be a step up. But I will agree with you. The NFC East, I think the Eagles still have.
And one player I wanted to mention is Carson Wentz. His first 2 years in Philadelphia, he was great. He before he got hurt, he was going to be the MVP, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. What happened to Carson Wentz from being a franchise quarterback to now being run out of the league?
I'm going to say I think a lot more. It comes down to a lot more than what your skill set is and what your physical ability on a field is. I haven't heard great things about his work ethic or his leadership. I'm not saying that it was bad. I'm just saying I think there are people who are hungrier, people who want to be leaders in a locker room, who want to lead a team. And I think he got a little bit complacent. And when you get complacent and you're no longer trying to scrounge for success and trying to be that guy and the best out there, you start to lose it, and then other people pass you up. And to be completely honest, I think that's what happened. He didn't seem to be as passionate or as hungry as other people were, and it started to show in his play on the field.
And last thing about Washington before I get to some questions, yes or no, Daniel Schneider will still be the owner of that team in training camp?
I don't know. We heard a lot of rumors about a couple different people. I think Jay-Z was thrown in there at one point, Matthew McConaughey, all kinds of people owning that team. By training camp, I'm going to say, yeah. Much after training camp, probably not. It's just for the benefit of the franchise, probably not.
Yeah, to me, that franchise needs a new owner,
It
and
needs a revamp.
and it needs to go back to the old site where they used to be at RFK Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
not that current stadium where it's falling apart, but to
Yeah.
move back into Washington, because that franchise was so good for so many years with Joe Gibbs, Joe Theismann, Art Monk, Darrell Green, John Riggins, just so much tradition there in Washington. It would be nice as a NFC East fan and the Eagles fan to have that franchise
Right.
competing well again.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, Abby, I got a few questions for you. I am based out of Ontario. I'm just outside of Toronto. So can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself and where did you attend school? And did you have any mentors when you were first starting up in the media broadcasting industry?
So I went to LSU, go Tigers. I graduated from LSU in May. Prior to graduation, I'd done just about everything under the sun, from working in the Saints press box for a couple years to sidelining for high school volleyball, football, lacrosse, baseball, to play-by-play and color commentary, a little bit of work with college baseball or college summer baseball and ESPN on field, sports journalism for LSU. I mean, I got my foot in the door anywhere I could, tested out all of the waters, and did just about as much as I possibly could. After graduating, I didn't have anything lined up. I knew I probably didn't want to go work in a newsroom. That just wasn't what was calling me. Though that is some people's place, and I completely respect it, and I love that they love it. It just wasn't for me. And then over the summer, I got in with Laura Oakman, who is a reporter for Fox. She is phenomenal, amazing human being, just well-rounded and so genuine and kind. And I worked with her and about, I want to say 20 other women. And we went to the Atlanta Falcons facility and actually got to interview some of the rookies, which was a huge step for me to be able to sit down with guys who either got drafted or signed and sit down and talk to them about their story and actually have that moment of like, okay, why am I doing this kind of thing? And Laura was the one who kind of made me reflect on why exactly I want to do this. So I would say Laura has absolutely been one of my biggest mentors. Melanie Newman, who does play-by-play for the MLB, wonderful again. And then of course Erin Andrews, Carissa Thompson, who are at the top of the game, just completely crushing it and shattering ceilings. And then I worked very closely with Whitney Bro, who got me on my first podcast, and we did a lot of interviewing females in the industry, which has been really cool. So a lot of people have taken time to help me out and give me little opportunities that have landed me in Dallas covering the NFL. I would have never gotten here. There's probably at least 100 people I could sit here and name that I would not be here without. And to them, I am very grateful. I landed this job, I believe, in August, and I moved from New Orleans to Dallas to take on all kinds of stuff I had no clue I'd be taking on. The sports industry is crazy. It's always changing, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
How much of an adjustment was it going from New Orleans, your hometown, to Dallas, Texas?
It's not very far. Texas and Louisiana are right next to each other. It is incredibly different. My entire life, I was so excited to get out of New Orleans, go explore the world, move to a big city. And I did. And I did it by myself. I had 2 weeks to pack up everything and move, which was terrifying. I was leaving my family and my friends and my boyfriend at the time. I was here by myself, and it's a huge city. Dallas is full of opportunity and so many things to do and just things to see. And it's almost a little bit overwhelming because you think New Orleans is huge, and then when you move to Dallas, it's so tiny compared to this. And the other thing I realized was how family oriented and culture heavy New Orleans is. It is everybody's open arms and cares about how you're doing and wants to take the time to small talk. And you move to a big city like Dallas, and it's a grind and it's constantly moving and it's chaotic. I love it. I love the grind. I love being a part of it, but I absolutely do miss home, and I didn't realize it would be such a change.
For my Canadian audience here that are watching or listening, and they've never been to New Orleans, such as myself, what would you say? What would you say would be the biggest reason to go visit New Orleans, Louisiana?
Oh, wow. I think Matthew McConaughey put it best. It is a beautiful mess, and there is no other place that you will find that is anywhere near what New Orleans is, to the food, to the music, to just the street performers and the art. And like I said, the people. You will not find people like you would find in New Orleans. I mean, it's family. It really is. And yeah, everything's got it's the downside of the city, and every place has that kind of thing, but I don't think that there are people anywhere else that would be so personable, hospitable, genuine, and just open to you. So if you ever get a chance, go to New Orleans just for a weekend and take it all in. You'll be taken aback.
Definitely. And you're a jazz music fan?
So, I mean, a little bit, a little bit. You grow up in New Orleans, you gotta be. You love the sound of it. It's everywhere.
Favorite food to eat in New Orleans?
Oof. Oh my gosh, that is a difficult question. Do you know how much food is in New Orleans? I got to say, right now, it's probably crawfish just because it's crawfish season and I am craving some crawfish. But all the food is so good.
Okay, definitely. I'll have to check out New Orleans. I've been to 13 states, but I haven't been to Louisiana or Dallas, Texas yet, which I need to go to as well. This
Yeah.
leads to my next question. Abby, when did you decided that you wanted to pursue a career in the media industry, broadcasting?
I was little. The first thing I used to go with my dad to football practice, and for the longest time, I wanted to be an NFL player. And I remember telling my dad at a young age, I'm going to be the first female to play in the NFL. And at first, he was like, yeah, you do what your heart tells you to do, baby. You can do whatever you want. And then as I kept it up, probably around 12 years old, he was like, look, I love you, kid, but biologically, probably not. It's probably not going to work out. Boys are just bigger, faster, stronger, and I'm all for girls doing what they need to do, but I just don't think it's going to work out. And I figured at that point, I was like, well, if I can't play, I'm going to be as close to the game as I possibly can. And for me, that's the sidelines and being almost in the game without physically being in the game. So I realized I wanted to do this probably around 12 years old.
Hey, I've only talked to you for about a half an hour on here, and I just met you a couple weeks ago on social media, but I can tell how passionate you are, and you are very professional. And like I
Appreciate
said, you
that.
can tell when somebody's has the passion, and that's what I had. I just wish when I was younger, I was into sports and broadcasting, but they didn't have all this technology
Yeah,
out that they have now. But like you said, everyone in your industry has been really great with me. They don't really care about my age as long as I'm willing to work hard and to
that's it.
learn and be flexible. This is one thing in this industry, even the podcast show, you got to work with your guests and be flexible too.
Yep. You have to. Those are great points. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're willing to work, there is a spot for you at the table. You've got to be adaptable and be able to pivot because this industry is changing every day. I mean, I'm 23 years old and I'm still seeing things change the way that it's going to social media and the platforms of podcasting. This is fairly new, considering years ago it was more televised, and Amazon is taking over Thursday night football, and Barstool is hosting college bowl games. So it is changing every day. I don't think it speaks to how old you are in this industry because it doesn't matter if you're fresh out of college like I am. I'm learning the same as you are about the industry. So props to you. I respect you for being up there in age and still turning around and saying this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it. And I think it shows exactly the type of people that are in this industry. It is like we all want to see each other succeed and we're going to help each other up the same way that we would want to be helped up. It's a very team effort. And again, if you're willing to grind and you are passionate about what you do, there's a spot for you.
And I was reading up, and you've pretty well done a little bit of everything in this industry. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that myself as a camera operator. I've done some replay. Whoops, are you okay? The picture came back. Which since was that a that was Drew Brees
That
that
was a
fell
Drew
down.
Brees. Yep.
Oh, right
That's
on
all
live
right.
TV, live TV. Drew Brees fell down.
Oh my gosh. I knew
No
that was going to
worries.
happen. That's all right.
No worries. But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to learn stuff. And one thing I wanted to say too is sometimes you get to step out of your comfort zone, which in my other career, I was kind of complacent for a while. And I've done some stuff that I stepped out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. That is, I believe, all of success lies on the other side of failure. You tap into your fullest potential when you are willing to step out of your comfort zone, and it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it puts you in positions where you want to turn around and go back, and it's hard and lonely and painful and it takes discipline. But I truly believe when you put yourself out of your comfort zone and you go through the hard stuff, one, you learn exactly who you are. You become on fire for the goal that you're trying to achieve. And that is when you step into a whole different ball game and success just starts to pour in. So absolutely stepping out of your comfort zone is probably the first step to any type of goal or success that you are chasing.
Absolutely, you well said. There's something else I wanted to ask you as well. I should have wrote it down, but hopefully I'll remember it before we go. Are you still good for a few more questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Originally, my show was called 30 Minutes Live with CDP when I first started 3 years ago. But unfortunately, a lot of my guests like talking more than a half an hour. So hey, the podcast host is just the host. a great guest make a podcast show. So I
Yeah.
just try to, and I love the story. What I really love about this podcast show is talking to people from industries in Canada, the States, Australia, and also learning about their stories and sharing my stories as well. Storytelling is a huge part even of a podcast show as well, and as well as being a camera operator too.
Yeah. I've done a little bit of podcast work. I was a co-host and it was kind of an internship kind of thing. But I agree with you. I think especially with the way that the industry is going, podcasting is becoming so prominent in just not even just sports, but just in general for the entertainment industry. And I think it is an art. And like you said, it really is storytelling and being able to talk to your guest and get them to open up a little bit and be genuine with their responses and kind of give you and color the story. You can set up the guidelines and the structure of the story and they just color it. And I think it really is an art and it does take practice and you've done a phenomenal job with that so far for me at least. But yeah, it's growing and I love podcasts. I think they are a great way to be entertained and also to learn.
Yeah, when I first started this, I heard people say anyone can do a podcast, but I'm telling them no, it's not easy because I produce my
No.
show, I'm the host, and I have to book guests. I have to promote this on all my social media platforms. It's a lot of work, but it's something I have a love for and a passion for, and it's also live streamed and then downloaded the audio. So it's a combination of kind of like TV and radio.
Yeah, you're doing it all. And I think a lot of people who don't know, they believe it is just, oh, we're recording a conversation and putting it out there. Easy enough. Not at all. I mean, you're worrying, I've got 3 ring lights up right now just to make sure that it's a little bit pleasing to look at. And you've got earphones and audio troubleshooting, and you've got to make sure the stream is up. You've got to promote it. You've got to edit it after and put it out there. It is a lot of different jobs all being done by essentially one person, and people don't realize that until they have to do it. But I get where you're coming from. I know the side of podcasting that you are on, and I respect it. I admire it. Thank you for doing it.
No problem. One thing I need to work on still is editing. There's still a lot of things I need to learn. And that's what I love about this industry. There's always something new to learn every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. That is, I think that goes beyond just this industry as well. I think whether you're fresh out of college, you're still in school, you are switching careers years and years later, there's always something to learn. You can be 70 years old, retired for 5 years already. And I firmly believe that there's always something to learn. The moment that you believe you've arrived, my dad has always told me this, the moment you believe you've arrived and you've peaked is the moment everything else is gonna go downhill. You've never arrived. You always need to be a student of life. Learn everything that you can, regardless of whether it's in your career or it's just being a better person. Whatever it is, continue to learn, continue to get more knowledge of things, continue to pick up new skills, and just better yourself in all aspects. And it makes life that much better.
And I was going to say now with the pandemic out of the rears, the last year now I've been able to go out to sporting events and cover teams like in the National Lacrosse League, the CFL here, some other teams as well, doing live interviews. It's one thing you when you do a podcast show, you can prep for it and stuff, but when you're
Mhm.
doing live in-person interviews, you got to think on your feet. And for me, I've been self-teaching myself a lot on my own as well and just learning, but doing in-person interviews is a lot different. As much as I love doing the virtual podcast like this, I really like talking to people in person as well and interviewing them after a game.
Yeah, I think that has been one of my favorite things. As much as I love the play by play and the stats and everything else about it, I think there's something so beautiful in being able to grab an athlete or a coach right after a big win or right after a big play and catch that emotion, because that is the whole reason, whether you want to admit it or not, that is the whole reason people love sports. It is for the passion, the heart, the emotion that goes into it, the bigger reason behind sports that a lot of people you look at these guys that love stats and they love the breakdown of the game. Well, why do you love that? At one point you felt connected to something about it. There was emotion involved in it. Being able to do those in-person interviews, that is something I love. That is my favorite part of this, being able to story tell. But it is difficult. It is very difficult to think on your feet. You don't know how the game's going to go, and quite often I have somebody in my ear telling me, "Run, go grab that coach, ask him 3 questions, and get off the field." And I've got 30 seconds from when it's halftime to me sprinting to catch this guy before he goes into a locker room and grabbing him and then having a meaningful conversation that viewers are interested in, and that doesn't make me sound dumb or like I don't know what's going on. Like you've got to think, and that I think that comes with reps. And it's not always a perfect scenario. Sometimes you got to talk to the guy that lost the game for the team, or sometimes you got to talk to a coach who is retiring on a loss and whatever it is. But I think the more you do it, the more you show empathy. And instead of talking to the player or the coach as a player or as a coach, you talk to them as a person. That interview becomes so much easier. It's as if you're just having a conversation with them, and you forget the cameras, forget what I'm supposed to be sharing with the audience. Let's talk. It completely changes the game. When you start to see that person as a person instead of an interview, it is completely different.
Absolutely, and you want to build a rapport with them. Now, I've had
Yeah.
some people tell me in the industry here where I live, yeah, we won't interview athletes when they lose because they'll be upset. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's their style. For me, I've interviewed some athletes where they've lost and they've been completely professional with me. And to me, I think it's important for broadcasters, in my opinion, to be able to interview athletes in winning situations and sometimes when they don't win as well.
Yeah. It is a little awkward because the human aspect in you is, man, I feel for this kid. I don't want to make it worse. But a lot of times that is where the most meaningful comments come from. The stories that inspire somebody watching come from the things that evoke emotion come from those interviews that make you step out of your comfort zone. Like I will be the first to tell you, I get so uncomfortable when I have to ask the tough questions, or I have to ask after the game. I have to interview the coach that lost, and it's if you do it the right way, if you have the boundaries and you know, okay, this is how I ask this question. If I'm professional about it and I'm empathetic about it and I have the human element to this, it'll be a good conversation. They can tell when a reporter is talking to them solely for the story because they want to get the news out. They want to be the person to break it. They want this quote. They can tell when the reporter is selfish and just wants them for the interview piece that they need. They can also tell when the reporter is talking to them as a person and somebody who, man, I know you're just doing your job and you have to talk to me, but I appreciate you for being respectful and for actually making me feel heard, kind of thing. It is all about how you carry yourself, and it is all about how you treat the person you're interviewing. Seriously, it will go a long, long way. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but again, I revert to, if you can talk to this person as if you were just talking to a friend, it will make the interview that much better and that much easier to do.
That's what I try to do with my shows. And when I first started Abby, I was scripting everything. And I had Eric Smith on, the voice of the Toronto Raptors, and he came on. He said, "Chris, it's okay to write stuff or points down, but talk to me and your guests like
Yeah.
we're at a coffee shop in an arena." And even Tom McCarthy from the Phillies in the NFL on CBS, I don't know how I got him on my show, but he told me the same thing too. The natural conversation is the best conversation. So
Yeah.
that's why, and I try to be myself. I try not to be somebody I'm not.
Absolutely. I think it is so easy in this industry to get caught up in what you're supposed to be and what everyone else is. And it gets very formal, and you got to script everything out so you sound a certain way. And I think that's all good and well when you start to have a baseline, but being yourself is going to get you so much further in this industry than trying to be someone else or be what you think people want. I fully believe that. That's taken me a couple years, and yeah, I'm young, but that is a lesson that I've had to learn very early. just embracing who I am and letting it ride. I'm going to end up exactly where I'm supposed to be as long as I'm putting in the work.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about as well. I've had some successes, but I've also had some rejections. But never take the rejection side personally. Just try to improve and learn from the rejections and that. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. You can't become successful if you aren't faced with rejection. If you don't have the no's and the failures, you aren't going to learn anything. And I don't believe that you fail until you stop trying. Failing is doing something wrong, being rejected, and not trying again. That is the end of it. And then, yeah, you failed. But if you continue to get up and keep chipping away and keep trying, you've never actually failed because you're still trying. So rejection is very important piece of life, and like I said earlier, you've got to go through the bad to get to the good, because those low valleys and those the rejections and the no's and the criticism, the harsh criticism, it all makes you better. It teaches you. It kind of allows you to learn who you are and how you handle things and what your strong suits are and your uniqueness. And it just sharpens you and kind of pushes you more and more towards your purpose. The right opportunity and you will end up where you're supposed to be as long as you continue to chip away. So I guess to anyone listening, that yes, rejection sucks. It hurts. It's not fun by any means, but it is a key part to achieving your goals. Absolutely.
And one thing too, I've started a new career. Obviously, doing this the last 3 years, I've had to make some sacrifices financially, and tried to tell people when you start a new career, and especially getting into the media industry, you have to pay your dues. Nothing is handed
Hmm.
or given to you, and sometimes you have to go out and make your own opportunities. And I might be making less money than I was even a year ago, but I am so much happier because this is something I have a passion for, and it's not really work to me.
Absolutely. I think two things from what you just said. One, nothing is handed to you ever. And truly, if it was, it wouldn't be as fulfilling. I don't want anything handed to me. I want to work for it and I want to feel what it feels like to work for it and get something. That is part how we're designed, is to want to earn something. You don't want it handed to you. Also, you shouldn't think that things are just going to get handed to you because you got a rude wake up call headed your way if that's what you believe. But as far as money and happiness go, my mom was the one who told me when I was very, very young, you make sure that you do something you love regardless of what it pays, because you want to wake up every day and look forward to going to work, look forward to the life you live. You don't want to dread going to work just for a paycheck. You will find a way to be happy on less money if you enjoy what you do on the daily, rather than, God, I hate going to work but I'm making this much money. That's a miserable way to live. So follow your heart, follow your passions, do what makes you light up, and the money will work itself out. I fully believe, again, if you work hard enough, it'll all work itself out.
Well said, and I really appreciate you saying that as well. So, because
Yeah.
sometimes you got to block out. A majority of people have been positive, but sometimes you got to block out the noise or the naysayers.
You always have there will always be people who are going to knock your hustle for one of a thousand reasons. They're jealous, or they don't see the vision that you have, or they think they know better. Whatever it is, you're always going to have somebody in your ear telling you you can't do something, or that you're too old, you're a girl, you are too young, whatever it may be. There's always somebody. And you honestly, I used to take that to heart, and I would be so offended by these people who didn't believe in me, who wanted me to fail. And now I use it as fire. Like, it's okay. Keep talking to me because I'm gonna do it and it makes me happy. And then you can look on and watch me do it. Like, that's how it is. So use it as fire, because they're not going anywhere. You're not gonna get rid of the people that just knock you. So you might as well use it.
Absolutely. You still okay for a few more minutes? A couple more
Mhm.
questions? Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. I always like to check with my guests and that because I try to like I want my guests to be able to trust me and not think I'm going to keep them an hour and a half. And like I
Yep.
said, I've learned to be flexible with my guests. The question I wanted to ask you, Abby, can you just tell us about your work as a student with LSU when you were there as their sideline reporter and color analyst, and what was a game day like in preparing for a game there?
So I worked with Tiger TV, which was the student run media for LSU. As a sports reporter for them. We covered, I mean, every sport. And the last game I covered football wise was the Auburn game in, what was that, 2021, I believe, last season. Yeah. And that was a night game. That it is tough to do night games. Death Valley is one of the best places in college football, especially on a Saturday night. But as a media person, it is a long day. You get out there, we got out there, kickoff was at 8. We were out there probably around noon, 1 o'clock, prepping for the pregame show. I mean, you're doing your homework on the game and getting everything ready, the equipment, and just kind of pregame stories and posting that, editing that, getting that out. And then you've got actual game time kickoff at 8 o'clock. You're shooting the whole game, you're keeping up on Twitter for the updates. And then after the game is when the real work starts. You go to the post game presser. At this time, it's 11:30 midnight, maybe. You get the quotes from coaches, players, and then you're writing a story and you're editing. And I kid you not, after that game, I think I got home at 4:30 in the morning after it was all said and done. So that's a what, 16-hour day, working well into the early hours of the morning. But that is this industry, and you have to be able to deal. And there are long, long, long days where you don't get a break, and maybe you're not eating for a couple extra hours, and you're on your feet all day. And it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and man, all I want to do is get in my bed, but I got to get the story out that is part of the job. And if you love it enough, it doesn't feel like a job. That day did feel like a job just solely because it was Baton Rouge, and game days are so long, but it was enjoyable. Covering LSU had to be one of the best things for me personally. I grew up, again, an LSU fan. And then just the athletics that LSU has, it was such a blessing to be able to witness a lot of the things I got to witness. I covered LSU Pro Day, which that is so cool to be in the same area as almost all of the NFL head coaches, scouts, GMs who are watching and rating these LSU players, and I'm standing 10 feet from them. As a student, that is awesome. That was a great opportunity. I did a lot of coverage of LSU baseball and formed a lot of long-term friendships through that. And truly, I could not be more grateful for all of the opportunities that I got at LSU.
What fans don't see, and I realized this when I started doing camera work for Rogers TV here in Canada and the University of Guelph where I'm at, and people don't realize in a broadcast about the setup, the teardown, and it's a long day. It's not your average 8 to 4 job.
No, again, I've had a lot of people make comments about, oh, you just want to be on TV, oh, you just want to be on camera. There's a lot more that goes into it than just the pretty part of being on TV. Yes, that's great, but that's not why I'm doing this, because you don't see all the hours of research and all the preparation and all the editing at 2 a.m. and all the posting and there's so much more than what you just see in this 30-second interview on TV. Or like, it is a grind, and I don't think people fully understand or respect it until they are put in it. Because I've had people as well who have seen, who got kind of a glimpse of the behind the scenes kind of thing, or who were with me for a job that I had to do, and they look at me like, Abby, that's a lot. I was like, yeah, welcome to it. You thought I was kidding when I told you I was tired. I'm tired. Like, it is a grind.
Absolutely. What I was going to say, what was your most memorable game covering the Tigers there?
As far as oof, that's a tough one. I did a lot of baseball. I love baseball. I played softball, so it resonates a little bit. Baseball and football are my sports. That Auburn game had to be really fun, and LSU lost, but it was the only game I got to cover in Death Valley at night, and to be able to witness the culture from that perspective. And when I tell you there is nothing like Death Valley on a Saturday night, there is nothing like Death Valley on a Saturday night. And being able to witness that from a different perspective rather than being a fan in the student section or even a player on the field, just seeing it from the outside was absolutely incredible.
Since you mentioned baseball, softball, if you did play it, what was your favorite position to play? And do you have a favorite Major League Baseball team?
I was a shortstop. I loved it with every ounce of me. It was time to hang up the cleats, which I still regret a little bit, but it was my time and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But I was a shortstop. I very passionate and animated player, if you will. And my favorite MLB team is the Astros, solely because I'm in Louisiana. We don't have an MLB team. Alex Bregman went over there. He was big at LSU. That's kind of around the time that I started getting into the MLB. So I am an Astros fan. Fun fact, I actually went to my first MLB game over the summer. It was an Astros game, but now I'm in Dallas. The Rangers play right here, so I might have to go to a couple of their games too.
What's your favorite number?
22. That is my
22.
lucky number. Yep.
Is there a story behind 22?
I think when I played basketball, another fun fact, I played on an all boys basketball team. My dad kind of wanted me to get roughed up a little bit and learn how to play with the boys and kind of hang tough. So I played on an all boys basketball team for a couple years. And my first number my dad chose for me, and he chose 23 because of Michael Jordan.
Good
And I
choice.
think, yeah, it was a great number, but I think me being the little hard-headed chick that I was, turned around and I was like, no, I want 22. Just to spite him, I guess. And I got 22, and after that it was 22 for everything. I guess. I don't know. I really don't know where that came from. That's a great question.
Definitely. And I'm going to wrap this up because I've already kept you over 45 minutes. But
You're okay.
okay, as long as you're cool, I'll just going to wrap this up. This one, I wanted to ask you this question. I wrote it down for you too. How important in the media industry are internships and volunteering?
Um, they are everything. And that is scary to hear, as maybe you're somebody that didn't get volunteer opportunities or internships. But when I say they are everything, I don't mean the pretty big internships with a big network or a big team. I mean the DMing people on Instagram, "Hey, do you need help with this? Can you call me for 10 minutes? Can I just pick your brain?" That is what I mean by internships and volunteering. What I really mean is networking. Put yourself in a position to make an opportunity. Reach out. There are so many people that want to help. And it's scary because you see these big reporters and these analysts and these hosts, and you think they don't have the time of day for me. They don't want to talk to me. They've made it. That is not the case at all. There are some of those out there that just truly don't want to help, and that it is what it is. But most of the industry wants to help anyone who wants to help themselves. And like I said at the beginning of this, there are over 100 people that I can think of right now that have given me a yes or an opportunity or just a 5-minute phone call to give me tips or suggestions or critique something for me. And if you are willing to reach out and to do anything, I mean, hold a camera or just shadow and hold somebody's coffee. Like, when I tell you it goes down to that, it goes down to that. Because if you are willing to help yourself, other people are going to be willing to help you.
Well said, and I that's all I can say about that. Well said, and I really appreciate that,
Yeah.
Abby. And we're gonna wrap this up because I already kept you a little bit longer than I thought, but I think we're having a great conversation, and I'm really enjoying talking to you about your career and how you got started up.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Okay, quick thoughts. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Quick thoughts on the March Madness, and who do you see getting to at least the Final Four?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't kept up with men's March Madness as much as I have women's because LSU just made the Sweet 16, the women's basketball team. Kim Mulkey is doing something crazy over there. So I have not kept up with men's basketball. I'm not a big basketball person. I just never have been. But I have been keeping tabs on LSU women's basketball, and they're on to something. They got something special cooking. So I'm going to flip the question and say that we're talking about women's March Madness here, and
Okay,
I'm going to say that I think LSU could head to that Final Four.
when's their next game and next opponent?
They left today, and I couldn't tell you who they were playing. That's my bad. But they did leave LSU. They left Baton Rouge today on the bus.
I've been to a college football game at the Big House in Michigan where there's 114,000 people. I think
Hmm.
college sports in the States is just as big, if not bigger, than professional sports.
Well, there's a reason for that, and it's because they aren't now. They're being paid with the NIL deals, but they're playing solely to for the passion, for the love of the game, for the team aspect, for the chance to make it to the next level. There's so much more at stake in college sports than there is in professional. At the professional level, you're getting a paycheck, and you hope that all these professional athletes would play for the love of the game, and a lot of them do, but some of them are there just because they're good at something, they get paid a lot of money for it, and that's that. And I think as a fan base, you can respect these college athletes that are going to school and also playing a sport, which, if you haven't done your research on how much stuff that these student athletes have to do and how much they have on a daily basis, I mean, from weights to school to tutoring to practice to it's incredible. And as a fan, you have to respect their hustle and their passion for the sport to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to wrap this up with one last question for you, Abby. What do you enjoy most about the media industry? And what advice would you give to those who are watching or listening to this podcast later, looking to pursue a career in the industry? And where can my audience here in Canada follow you on social media and your website as well?
Um, so I think my favorite part about this industry is I kind of touched on it earlier, but just the human element of it. There are so many, I mean, you ride the highs of athletes, coaches, anyone involved in the industry, and you feel the lows. And there are so many life lessons and moments that just I mean, I'm sure you can remember a sports moment that you hold dear to your heart, whether you were 5 and saw it on TV or you were at a game, and it just I think their sports are so much bigger than sports. I think they bring us together as a community because I can tell you in New Orleans after Katrina, when everything that huge hurricane just wiped out the city, we were devastated. People lost family and homes, and the city was atrocious. There was no hope, and they brought in Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and that was the one thing that could bring that city together after complete and total devastation. And that is what I mean when I say sports are so much bigger than just the game played on the field. You have some of the biggest advocates on the field. You learn life lessons, you have memories, you grow up with sports, and I think there's so many elements and layers to athletics and to games that on the surface, yeah, it's entertainment. But when I look back at my life, a lot of the person I am is because of the games I played in or the games I watched or the athletes I looked up to. And I think my favorite part about being in this industry is being able to take all of those emotions, lessons, stories, and being able to not only feel them myself, but share them with other people and kind of bridge show people why I love them so much. As far as advice on anyone looking to pursue a career in the industry, doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you believe your ceiling is or what is handed to you or what's not handed to you. I think work ethic is probably the most important thing. Like I said, if you want it to happen and you are willing to work to make it happen, it will happen. Don't ever tell yourself you can't. Don't ever let the fear of failure or failure itself keep you from going after your goals ever. Use it as fire and have some faith in yourself, because it is very easy to get discouraged in such an industry where the limelight can be on you, and it's easy to compare to other people and see where they're at in their path. I think if you can focus on where you are, where you want to be, and lock in and work to get there, you will get there for sure. So bet on yourself. That's what I would say. Bet on yourself and do everything you can to bet on yourself. If people are looking to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Abigail _Alonzo, 2 B's, ABBIGAIL _Alonzo. On Instagram at Abigail Alonzo, ABBIGAILALONZO. And my website is floating at the bottom here, alonzosports.com.
Okay. I'm gonna wrap this up, but is it okay if I play like a 2-minute clip of your demo reel on here just to show my Canadian audience some of your work? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I should have done that sooner, but we were
That's
having such a
okay.
good conversation. So it's from your website. So I'm just gonna play 2 minutes of it, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Just 1 second, and yeah, I'm still learning all this technology, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it too.
Motivated and quite frankly, pretty stacked.
23 Atlanta Falcons rookies arrived at the facility today expecting nothing but camp. Instead,
Oops. It sometimes freezes up once in a while here on StreamYard, but we'll just.
they were blindsided by 23 galvanized reporters and
Just 1 second. Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes technical difficulties happen, so I'm hoping we can get it working for at least a minute or whatever. So just bear with me.
You're
Hopefully
good.
we can. Yeah, it
pushed
happens.
to talk about anything but football. I'm Abby Alonzo, and today I got deep with Coin Dang. Just 0.05 points kept LSU from beating Kentucky tonight, and the loss didn't come without controversy caused by this beam right here. Bryce, I'm going to get your initial reaction to these stats here. You're looking at them the same as I am. Your total, 39 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, and 1 assist. What's your thought? And you said the third quarter, you had 30.
Yes.
5 points in the third quarter alone. Just letting you know. Yeah, look at that reaction.
No,
but it's senior night. You guys come out with a beautiful win. What was the biggest factor into tonight's win? You guys have beat Mount Carmel twice this season, but it's a rivalry game. Maybe the biggest rivalry in New Orleans volleyball. They are never to be taken lightly. What needs to happen on the court tonight for you guys to get another win? LSU baseball is gearing up for what should be a successful season, but one player in particular is ready to play for a bigger reason.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's hit and miss on here tonight. I apologize.
It's okay.
I just wanted to play 2 minutes, but it just, yeah, sometimes it happens.
In the spring. Mikhail Hilliard is a pitcher on the LSU baseball team trying to leave his last mark. But in June, Hilliard tragically lost his father in a tubing accident.
It broke us,
Keith Hilliard was Mikhail's biggest supporter and hardest critic. Sometimes a bit tough on his son, Keith stayed on top of Mikhail to make sure he was giving his all of the time. Though Mikhail receives encouragement from many people, nobody could quite inspire him the way his dad could.
He had different ways of tapping into my mental and helping me be more focused on the mound and push harder. One of the things he would say is be a bulldog on the mound.
Mikhail was reminded of this bulldog mentality in last season's Super Regionals. In a stadium full of chaos and pressure, the pitcher caught a glimpse of one person who could silence the noise.
I just look up at my dad and I see his face and everything, just, everything's settled. I felt so confident on the mound after that. And uh, that's one of the memories that definitely be, in the back of my head moving forward.
But Keith's influence was bigger than McHale's performance on the baseball field. It overlapped to life outside of the game. Being a good person was more important than being a good baseball player, and he instilled that idea in his son.
Another thing that he would always say is be nice to people. And I feel like that relates outside of baseball and in baseball.
Keith Hilliard has impacted many people, including McHale's own teammates.
Mr. Keith was a very encouraging, very positive person. He was always in a good mood. He always wanted to lift up somebody else. And I think that was such a good role model for McHale to have, such a good foundation for him to come from.
Keith's confidence in his son never wavered.
He always told me he believed in me. He always told me I'd be great. I'd be something special. I'd leave LSU a legend. And whenever I do get on the mound, I always think about that. And I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest, but my mentality is unwavering.
Leading the team with his earned run average, McHale seems to have a successful season ahead.
Mr. Keith is forever going to live on through Cale, and I definitely think this season you're going to be able to tell.
Though Keith Hilliard may not be in the stands this season, he's in his son's heart, and McHale is determined to leave a legacy behind to make his dad proud.
Hilliard has.
Thank you so much. I know the demo was 7.5 minutes, but I always like to show 2 to 3 minutes of my guests' work to my audience here in Canada as well.
I appreciate that.
Yes, and I had a demo reel made as well. Now, did you do yours yourself, or did you have somebody help you with it?
I did mine probably about almost a year ago now.
Okay. Anyways, I'm going to let you go because I've kept you longer, but I want to say thank you so much for giving me over an hour and 10 minutes of your time. I really enjoyed speaking with you tonight, and I wish you continued success in the industry, and we'll definitely keep in touch on social media as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I learned a lot as well. I enjoyed this conversation. I hope everyone watching enjoyed it, and maybe it can take a little piece of something that we said with you on your way. But yeah, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
And I will let you know when this airs on WQEE 99.1 FM. And if you can give me about a half an hour, I'll have this downloaded to my audio platforms, and I'll send you a copy as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Abby. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 5, episode 36 with my guest, Abby Alonzo, who's an NFL analyst for Chat Sports in the Dallas, Texas area. And she also covers the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. And I really want to say thank you to Abby for giving me over an hour of her time tonight. And I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast show with Abby as well. As for my next show, guys, I'm going to wrap this up, guys. The next Live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 5, Episode 37, will be Monday, March 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern with Mark McKelvey, the TV play-by-play announcer for the OHL's Owen Sound Attack, and he's also the communications and content manager for Woodbine Entertainment for Standard Bird Racing as well. So looking forward to having Mark McKelvey on my show for a second time, and we're going to talk a little bit about the OHL season and obviously the Owen Sound Attack, where he's the TV play-by-play announcer for them as well, guys. Just bear with me, guys. And also I wanted to say thank you to everybody watching live with CDP Sports Talk, live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn as well. You can also follow me on my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my social media digital content is there, as well as my WordPress site where I do my digital stories, and also all my previous podcast shows on my YouTube channel as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk again is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles. or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for sponsoring this podcast show as well, guys. And we'll wrap this up soon. You guys can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. I post a lot of content there as well. StreamYard is also the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting, I highly recommend StreamYard as well, guys. Also, guys, Live with CDP Sports Talk is produced by CDP Media Productions. Yours truly, of course, 2023. And finally, Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. The audio version is available on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, and Tuned In. And also, it's available weeknights at 8 o'clock Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 The Key, the heartbeat of Atlanta, Southern Talk in sports. And I want to say thank you to Ryan O'Neill, their station manager, for giving me an opportunity to air my show as well, guys. And finally, before we wrap this up, you guys can email Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. And again, my next Live with CDP Sports Talk is going to be this Monday, March 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern with Mark McKelvey, the longtime TV voice of the Owen Sound Attack on Rogers TV. And Mark's going to talk some Owen Sound Attack hockey, and also preview the OHL playoffs as well. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Abby Alonzo, for coming on. I apologize if I kept her longer than 45 minutes. Again, thank you to Abby for coming on. And guys, just give me about maybe a half an hour and I'll have this podcast show episode downloaded to my audio platform. So again, thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and also on my audio platforms, and also later listening on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Atlanta. And I hope everybody has a great evening, great weekend, and we'll see you guys Monday, March 27th at 4 o'clock with Mark McKelvey. Again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Auto Mall. Have a great night, everybody. Great weekend, and thanks for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk.